Oh yeah, baby. You just keep doing your thing. Happy Halloween, kids! Oh man, is it good to be back in spooky month. And what a month it's been. Seriously, I've been doing this a couple years now, and each time it's been really difficult to select from the catalog of good horror shooters that us PC gamers are blessed with. Hell, from the wealth of good horror-based games in general. But the Halloween video always has to be something that is cream of the crop. My first year, it was Dusk. Last year, it was Scorn. And this year, it's Doom 3. Now, I'd originally wanted to save Doom 3 exclusively for the History of FPS project that I'm doing, but more than a few of you kids suggested Doom 3 as a title for this spooky month. So I thought, you know what? Why the hell not? I've never played more than a little bit of the demo for Doom 3, way back in 2004 when it first came out. My PC at the time wasn't exactly fit to run the brand new id Tech 4, so my experience with the demo was, short-lived, to say the least. But I remember being hyped for it. A darker atmosphere, creepier monster designs, brand new, ultra-detailed graphics engine. The whole thing, it felt like a hardcore shock to the system. After all, it's a little difficult to start up a Doom game like this when you're used to playing it like this. But then a weird thing happened. After Doom 3 came out, I don't remember that much hype about it in the following months, or even years. Could be because Halo 2 and Half-Life 2 dropped less than 3 months later, and I played the hell out of Half-Life 2. It could be because of the way the world was drifting away from PC shooters and more towards console shooters.
Halo ruined first-person shooters.
But there was something about this particular entry in the Doom series that somehow didn't resonate as much as previous titles had. Part of that could be because this particular John Carmack engine wasn't used to power that many games. Doom 3 came out in August of 2004. Quake 4 came out just over a year later in 2005, also running on id Tech 4. Prey would drop in 2006. Enemy Territory, Quake Wars used id Tech in 2007. Raven made a Wolfenstein game with the engine in 2009. And the last game to use the engine was... Wait, what the fuck is this? The fact that id Tech 4 was used by only 6 games compared to God knows how many games running on previous iterations of id Tech, and yeah, there was something stirring in the waters at that point, which seemed to, Doom from the start. There was also the fact that the game was a full reboot of the series, not a sequel. You heard that right, kids. Doom 3 is a top-to-bottom remake of Doom 1, a back-to-basics reimagining of the origin of the species. So, with that came redesigns of every enemy, every weapon, the playstyle was reworked. Hell, they basically even changed the genre of the shooter. The decisions made along the path to this particular choice were fraught, to say the least, leading to a lot of inner turmoil at id Software. Now, this isn't a history video, so I'm going to save the historical retellings for another time. But let me tell you kids, bringing this game to life was no walk in the park. Compared to every other entry in the Doom franchise, Doom 3 stands out as the black sheep of the family. It features slower, more methodical combat, a fully fleshed story that plays in cutscenes and journal entries. Weapons need to be reloaded. Game mechanics heavily deal with light and darkness, focusing much more on horror than any other game to date. Doom 3 is so different from the rest of the series that it practically stands side by side with Zelda 2 as games nobody ever admits is their favorite in a franchise. But you know what, kids? Up until recently, I had never played Doom 3. I heard the stories about the shotgun being god-awful, about the bullshit flashlight mechanic that had players scrambling to create mods to work around it, the strange creature designs, the slower pace, and the lack of boomy, shooty goodness. Everything I heard swirling about this title pretty much left me inclined to not put any time into it. Throw in the fact that Doom 3 has been officially acknowledged as a part of a separate timeline and not canon to the events of Doom 1, 2, 64, 2016, and Eternal. Well, after nearly 20 years of having not played it, I just didn't really see the point. But let me tell you something, kids. I just finished playing this game over the course of the last 2 weeks. The vanilla version of Doom 3, not the BFG edition, because I wanted to understand what it is about the original release that causes so much controversy. And after nearly 13 hours of gameplay total, and honestly, fresh out of hell, shotgun still smoking, I am convinced that Doom 3 is the best Doom experience. Hey, kids, hey. No, listen. I can see you. I can see all of you furiously tapping away at your keyboards in the comments right now. But I want you to look at the title of this chapter again. It says the best Doom experience, not the best Doom game. The best Doom experience. And I feel like I've got plenty of good reason to say that, so just sit down a second and let me get into it. Up front though, I do want to say I'm not here to make any kind of definitive ranking of which Doom game is the best Doom game. I played all of them now, kids, and in my humble dad opinion, every Doom game is a good game, except Doom 2. But each game in the franchise provides a different experience. You've got everything from dark, demonic, slow-paced horror to visceral, fast-paced rip-and-tear combat. Regardless of the specific presentation, Doom always offers one thing: demon, blasting, gunplay. The original Doom was one of the scariest goddamn things me and every other gamer back in 1993 had experienced up until that point. In my history of FPS video on Doom, I absolutely staked the claim that Doom is a horror game, and I will die on that hill. Now, with that said, coming into Doom 3, it's imperative to recognize that Doom 3 understands the original game. In fact, it understands it so much, it takes everything terrifying about the original, slowly ratchets it up to 11, and only backs down when it knows you're not looking. Then, it catches you off guard by cranking it all the way back up again. This is aided by the fact that this is the first Doom game to have a bona fide ongoing narrative. Now, look, to begin with, if anyone ever tells you that the original Doom didn't have a story, you smack them upside the head and say, "My dad told me that Doom had a story." Doom has always had a story. It's just the method with which it delivered that story that didn't act as a traditional ongoing narrative. Once upon a time, all we needed was some flavor text at the end of an episode, or every 10 maps or so, and that was enough to tell us what was going on. Doom 3, however, was crafted in a post-Half-Life world. No longer is flavor text enough to tell a story within a PC game. At least not if you're a coward. Doom 3's experience, its horror, lies in the slow, violent, terrifying unfolding of events as the Marine walks into a base populated by humans that is then transformed within moments into a literal hellscape of demons, zombies, and horrific visions which may or may not be real. In the Doom games prior to this, and in the Doom games released after this, Doom Guy / Doom Slayer is arriving onto the scene of hell already in progress. Shit's gone to pot. Demons are everywhere. Everything is already fucked. But Doom 3 isn't content with just dropping us into that kind of situation. Doom 3 wants us to understand what it feels like to be in the middle of that descent into madness and horror as it all goes down. And then it wants us to find some way to crawl back out of the pit. In service of this, we have a cinematic ongoing plot with cutscenes that pull back outside of our character's perspective, journal entries and voice notes that we can read / listen to via the Marine's handy-dandy PDA, and real, actual stakes that elevate the horror slowly growing around us into something much more than just jump scares and set pieces. In this story, there is genuine, palpable terror involving an ancient alien city discovered beneath the surface of Mars that could very well belong to actual demons from literal hell. Let's start at the beginning. Our protagonist, simply known as the Marine, not Doom Guy, certainly not the Doom Slayer, just the Marine, arrives at the Union Aerospace Corporation's Mars City facility alongside Counselor Elliot Swan and his personal bodyguard Jack Campbell. While the Marine is a transfer to the base due to some staffing issues, Swan and Campbell are here to investigate a series of accidents that have been happening at the site. So they meet with the head scientist, Dr. Malcolm Betruger. He's the bad guy. That's not a spoiler, that just, look at him. Betruger gracefully, yet ominously, allows the pair to hang out on Mars City for a little bit, while the Marine gets tasked with tracking down a missing scientist. Now, off the jump, I was worried when I was going through this whole sequence of events. We get to meander about the research facility, slowly taking in the sights and learning the controls and gameplay mechanics. We're introduced to the main characters. Okay, the only characters that the immediate plot cares about, and it can take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to navigate this section of the game. Like, I get that Half-Life did the bit with the train coming into Black Mesa, let us walk around and see things and interact with people, that at the time, it was kind of vogue to have a prolonged intro sequence where there's no action and we're pretty much playing a walking simulator for the opening 10 to 20 minutes of a game. Depending on the pacing and what the game is trying to accomplish, this kind of intro can really help or really harm a game. With Doom 3, I was fucking concerned about the sequence of events unfolding in front of me. 2 cutscenes where the camera pulls out of the Marine's head to pan around and take in other characters so we can understand plot, a lot of slow walking around, people talking while we stand still and wait for a script to trigger and then we can move on again. Up until we finally find the missing scientist that we're tasked with tracking, this introduction to how Doom 3 plays kind of had me bored, and frankly nervous for the style that id Software was going for with this take. However, in hindsight, looking at this intro again, it's actually kind of brilliant. So much heavy lifting is going on in the background of this intro that it almost feels like a bit of a flex on id's part, with how boring it all seems. Talking to NPCs and interacting with digital screens in-game are quickly, yet gently, softballed at the player in a way that allows them to become comfortable with the idea of talking to other characters, as well as clicking on icons in a shooter using our actual mouse cursor. We're using operating systems inside of an operating system. It's so fucking cool. And it's really just the most insignificant thing, how natural it feels to utilize while playing the game. You'd think that something as revolutionary as this would feel mind-blowing, but it doesn't. And that is the biggest strength of interacting with the digital screens in Doom 3. It just feels like what we do at home, with Windows, with our phones, with touchscreens. It's just effortless functionality. I don't know how many people pick up on this or feel this while playing the game. I've been watching a lot of videos on Doom 3, and I have yet to hear anyone talk about how stupidly natural and simple the use of screens in Doom 3 is. I fucking love it. What I love even more, though, is the goddamn PDA, which, at first, the moment I fucking saw this thing, I was like,
oh shit, here we go again.
Audio logs. Boy, oh boy, kids, here in this house, we do not stan audio logs. Audio logs, for me, have been and always will be the worst kind of storytelling shortcut in gaming that I can think of. For the life of me, as much as I can understand why audio logs are utilized and help developers cut corners and make their narrative a little easier to produce and digest, they always feel so fucking unnatural that it makes me want to tear my fucking hair out whenever I have to listen to them. When done well, they are, at the very least, tolerable. When not done well, they make me fucking despise the gameplay experience I am undertaking. Doom 3's audio logs are so well done that I hated how good they were. Now, let me throw a little context out there, because the PDA isn't just for audio logs. The PDA is a wonderful little tool that can and will allow the player to dive deeper into the world that id has created for this entry in the franchise, all while making it only halfway essential for specific aspects of the game. When you hit the tab key, the PDA will come up, and we will be given the option of accessing the Marine's emails, audio logs, and video discs. Emails are text journals, audio logs are, well, you know, and video discs are usually information propaganda produced by the UAC about weapons, the Mars City, the nature of the dig site beneath the cities, stuff like that. The video discs are all pretty much filler content that you can ignore for the most part, especially since some of the more important ones that will provide context clues will be playing on specific displays in the environment, set like chess pieces of information. We will also be collecting other PDAs as we venture through the Mars City, something we do off the bat during the intro. These PDAs that we find belong to other humans of the UAC, and we will have the option of going through their contents to read their emails and listen to the audio logs they contain. Now, on one hand, we really only need to be collecting and paying attention to specific PDAs, as they will contain security clearance that we need to use to access doors and progress through the game. Some emails will have important info for us to utilize, and some audio logs will have important info as well. I don't remember any of the audio logs having any mission-critical info that was necessary for campaign progression, but listening to them can provide insight into locker codes and other general events that have been building up over time to the terrifying situation we now find ourselves in. This is honestly really neat. I like that the PDA exists as a function outside of the action. Like, we need to look at it and click through info, read emails, listen to logs. In the System Shock and Bioshock games, the logs feel like a clunky item to activate and use and then listen to as we go about our business, you know? They don't feel like something we are naturally interacting with. It's more like a video game item that we are consuming, such as ammunition or a health pack. Here, by reading these emails, listening to these logs, interacting with them specifically in the context of the PDA, we are receiving required information in a diegetic manner. Now, this isn't a concept that's completely brand new to shooters. The best example I can think of off the bat is GoldenEye, where hitting start to go to the pause menu has 007 look at his watch, which then envelops the screen as though we're putting our sole focus on the watch screen itself. It's very clever, very immersive. Audio logs or emails are not simply item icons that we interact with, nor are they located on a separate screen that just immediately appears when we hit tab or escape. We are physically interacting with the digital systems in Doom 3, and that right there is super fucking cool. On top of that, while not all of the audio logs are necessary to listen to, sometimes listening to them while meandering through the darkened halls of Mars City adds a, well, for lack of a better word, haunted quality to the proceedings. All of the audio logs are either personal recordings, messages to other personnel, or reports given based on their jobs. Since all of these messages and logs are stored within the individual PDAs we are finding, none of them feel like information that is directed by the plot. Instead, we get a somewhat intimate look at how these people were living their lives in the moments right before disaster struck here on Mars City. Anyways, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The intro of the game also peppers in little concepts that we're going to want to keep in mind for later. The Marine meets up with Sergeant Kelly, the man in charge of security on base, and after giving us our marching orders, we're told to follow one of the little sentry bots to our next port of call to keep the story going. When we entered into the primary facility, we were treated to a brief glimpse at one of these little guys walking around before settling into sleep mode. Oh, look at him. God, he's such a good boy. So when the Sarge tasks us with following around one of the little bots, we've already gotten a sense of what it is and how it operates. We're shown a preview, then we get a demonstration by following it to our next objective. The sentry bots are really smart too. They won't just keep walking if you stop and take a wrong turn, nor will they just stop in place and wait for you to catch up. They'll actually come all the way back around to make sure you see them, and then get back on course once you're headed their way again. Sentries appear a couple more times in set pieces where you're tasked with following them from one spot to another. These usually take place in darkened areas full of enemies, so you get to take advantage of their mounted lamps and their fucking machine guns. Holy shit, these guys are such good fucking boys! They can be damaged though, even by your own gunfire, so keeping them alive until you reach point B is gonna be up to you. That being said, this very brief, very simple setup in the intro teaches us everything we need to know about these little guys, which makes those moments so much easier to play through without feeling like we need to have our hands held. And, of course, we're also introduced to the flashlight mechanic. This is the part of the game that, outside of the shotgun, is probably the most divisive aspect. John Carmack has stated outright that, originally, the flashlight was meant to be used in tandem with the weapons, not as a separate item to swap back and forth between, but he was worried that the engine would start to chug if an extra dynamic light source was being used all of the time. So they decided to utilize the flashlight the way that they did, which, as it turns out, was an amazing decision, because this game utilizes some of the most amazing, natural, realistic lighting I have ever seen. And not just that, but the most amazing, natural, realistic darkness I have ever seen. Oh hey, remember how we were here to talk about this being a horror game? So here we are on our way through Mars City, just making our way to find a missing scientist. We're playing with our flashlight, testing the waters of how light and dark are going to come into play in this game. And as we do, we're walking past several humans who we can interact with and chat with, and some of them even give us some interesting tidbits about the goings-on here. You'll notice that, as we're pathfinding, there are items that can be found in the recesses and corners of the environment. Sometimes, like with the armor shards and health packs, they'll have a small, glowing light on them that will make it a little easier to spot in the pitch black. That is, if they're facing towards us. So right off the bat, we're encouraged through gameplay to utilize the flashlight as a tool to discover secrets, extra ammo, and items. Good shit all around. There's also the storage lockers that I briefly mentioned earlier that we can discover and attempt to unlock, which means utilizing the PDA to find individual codes for specifically numbered lockers. This is practically a mandatory exercise, as these lockers are going to hold much needed caches of armor, health, ammo, and you can even sometimes find weapons that the game won't be providing until much later down the path. Some of this lighting is just so good. So good. This engine, despite clearly showing where some of the polygons connect together, still looks and feels like a glimpse into the future, just as it did back in 2004. I'm frankly astonished at the lighting effects here. But before we talk about anything else, we need to go and find our missing scientist.
Huh? No, please. You must let me get this communication out. They have to be warned while there is still time. I can't let... You don't know what I've seen. You can't possibly understand or comprehend. The devil is real. I know. I built his cage.
I'm getting abnormal.
Okay, but that line is raw as fuck.
Oh, God!
We can't hold these levels. We're losing it!
Help us!
Identify something coming from all over the base.
Alright, kids. Here's where we can get into the meat and potatoes of Doom 3. Everything we need to understand the game. Interactive screens, PDAs and audio logs, storage lockers, NPCs, sentry bots, the flashlight. Everything shown to us up until this point is now something that is going to be thrown at us in various points throughout the rest of the campaign. But first, we get to experience how everything here on Mars falls apart. This is so fucking cool. The base is shuddering. There's explosions everywhere, near, far. Pipes have burst and electrical systems are damaged. Sergeant Kelly is on the radio, calling out orders. Fire teams are responding, calling out enemy locations, screaming for help. Like, the way id portrays this initial collapse into chaos is so well orchestrated, so tightly, finely tuned, that even though I knew what was coming and that it was eventually going to happen, and even though I know now already everything that happens in the game, I'm going over my footage while writing the script, and I'm listening to the screams, watching the video as darkened spaces light up from flickering screens and gunfire. It is chilling. Absolutely one of the best scripted sequences I have personally ever played. We can see here now how id Tech 4's lighting comes into play. We're navigating based on two separate things: illumination from environmental sources and illumination from our own flashlight. And yes, this game is dark. Really dark. There were times when I was trying to play the game in the middle of the day, but my blinds weren't enough to keep the ambient sunlight out of my room enough for me to see the screen, even with the gamma cranked up. But that's honestly kind of the point. For better and sometimes for worse, Doom 3 is designed around the tech and the lighting rather than the other way around. For some, the tension of not being able to see what's in front of you, or what's around the corner, or even the pathway around you, that's going to be a frustrating deal breaker. After all, how are you expected to play the game if you can't see the goddamn thing? But when you look at Doom 3 as a horror game, the lighting, or rather the lack thereof, makes sense and genuinely enhances the experience. I mean, just look at this shot of the imp being introduced. The way the fire from the pipe lights up the imp's body and the environment, how the shifting of shadows plays when the imp jumps forward and onto the wall, its body becoming a silhouette for just a brief second, making it more difficult to see. While this sequence isn't necessarily designed to be frightening or to truly scare the player, this is far more effective as a tactic than if the brightness were cranked all the way up and we could just see the imp plain as day. The quality of the darkness and the light here in this game are absurd. Like, I've seen dark areas in games before, that's nothing new. But you know how you can tell the difference between seeing a dark room in a movie and being in a dark room? Playing Doom 3 feels like being in a dark room. Like, there is this palpable, almost thickness to the inky blackness surrounding you in this game. You could reach through the screen and put your hands out and wonder what you're gonna touch, or you could turn on your flashlight and cut through it and see what's actually there. Half of the fun of this game, and by fun I mean tension, is walking into areas that are full of darkness. Corners, crevices, nooks, wondering if there's anything hiding in there. Sometimes there is. sometimes there isn't. Sometimes you can see their eyes glowing for just a moment, a fleeting glimpse of something moving in the darkness as it comes at you, prepared to strike, giving you just enough warning to prepare your shotgun. Sometimes you're just oblivious to how dark a corner is, like it doesn't look like there's a space for a zombie to hide. It looks like it's just a wall. And then out of nowhere comes a swipe of undead hands, the moaning and groaning, and you're taking damage. You're flailing, trying to regain composure long enough to fight back, and then you're either dead or still alive afterwards. While the id Tech 4 engine has certainly aged in places when compared to other modern graphics engines, the lighting and the atmosphere and the way textures appear are still so good. And this is present throughout the whole course of the game. You kids already have an idea of how the game is going to go, and you're probably right, because at the end of the day, this is a Doom game. But it's the process, the way the doomy carnage unfolds, is what makes this game so unique and genuinely thrilling throughout the course of it. Once the initial demonic incursion is over, the Marine has to make his way across Mars City for a variety of reasons, which, as it turns out, keeps taking him on a downward path towards the archaeological dig site deep beneath the Martian surface. Id wisely finds ways to keep the environments varied, despite the fact that it's all mostly UAC uniformity. We'll travel through water reclamation and sewage treatment, move across a sky rail to switch it up a little. Sometimes we'll have to run between airlocks outside in the harsh Martian atmosphere where oxygen is limited and sometimes a little frustrating. And as the game goes on, the UAC facility becomes more and more overtaken by elements of hell. Eventually, the Marine gets to the cargo lift, which leads down into the deep, and we get a chilling look at some truly alien architecture and artifacts that the UAC have been studying. Rather unwisely, I might add. Oh man, howdy, the icky, gooey, fleshy nastiness of the environment gets... Ugh. Occasionally, the Marine is tasked with teleporting between places within the facility when halls and stairs are blocked off from damage done to the facility. And when we take said portals to travel from place to place, the Marine is dragged through what is essentially a meat tunnel, and kids, this game is not shy about the body horror. The blood, the gore, the set decorations. We see bodies hanging in any variety of ways, strung up and hung up and dissected and eviscerated, pulsating sacks of demonic skin and bones creeping across the walls like invasive vines, and twice in the game, we get to go straight to hell. The fire and brimstone have a vicious Old Testament quality that even Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal couldn't touch. There is a haunting, evil, ancient vibe to the hell sequences. I swear to God that id Software all sat down and collectively watched Event Horizon as a team, and Carmack said, "See that? That's what we're going for." I'll say this, no matter how you fall on your overall enjoyment of this game, one thing that can't be denied is that id Software carefully and intentionally crafted Doom 3 to be as old school, horrific, and unnerving as possible. I've heard quite a few people say that they didn't feel like Doom 3 was very scary, and your mileage is going to vary, I'm sure. Me, I love a good horror atmosphere, and when done right, it will chill me to the bone pretty easily. It has to be done right, though. You can't just do a bunch of jump scares to try and freak me out. I will get bored and or frustrated. Doom 3 definitely does have jump scares in certain ways, like the times when you'll open a door and an imp will be on the other side, prepared to leap at you, and then it does. Fucking imps. And playing on the veteran difficulty, this wasn't so much scary as it was heart-pounding, because you take so much damage on veteran difficulty. There's so much fucking... It's a topic to talk about later, though. Other ways the game delivers soft jump scares lies in demons teleporting in just in front of you in a bright display of hellish light and arcane symbols, which usually results in you running backwards in a mad dash to get away from the action, only to find that other demons have either teleported in already behind you or are just starting to do so. I felt like Doom 3 was 2 steps ahead of me at any given time. You're never, ever certain when there's going to be a demon nearby. I had plenty of times where I would rush forward, kill some demons, and then backtrack to return to a pile of health and ammo I had passed by, which was now very necessary, only for some imp or wraith or zombie soldier to emerge, ready for me, as though the game knew I would be coming back for those supplies. What's funny is that if you go for the supplies first without rushing forward, there won't be an ambush. The ambush is usually reserved for when you backtrack, feeling like you're safe because you've already cleared that area and you don't need to worry about what's in the shadows any longer. I love horror games that can frighten you with just a darkened hallway. And while Doom 3 is no Silent Hill, it really does aim for something parallel to that style of horror. There are ambient sound effects, such as the sounds of crying, screaming, dismay, distress that will sweep across your ears like an unwanted caress at times, which all become even more chilling when they mix in with the constant stream of pulsing, hissing, thrumming machinery and distant explosions as the Mars City complex slowly collapses around you. You have to listen for these between the industrial noises, and sometimes when you hear something ghostly, you might stop to double check and see if anything is really there. I know I did. I did that a lot. Chris Vrenna and Clint Walsh's score, clearly channeling Akira Yamaoka's tactile soundtrack from the first Silent Hill, creeps in when you least expect it. There's no Mick Gordon or Andrew Hulshult setup and relief when the tension gets too high. Oh, no. These guys, they listened to Aubrey Hodges' work on Doom 64 and said, yeah, man, that's the vibe we want to go for. I do know that at one point, Trent Reznor was being courted to work on the soundtrack and sound effects for Doom 3, but it eventually fell through due to scheduling or money, or who knows. Trent is my favorite musician of all time, and while I would have loved to have heard his take on this game, man, does this OST just breathe and hum like it is maliciously alive. Now, the horror in this game isn't all just atmosphere and implications. There are horrific visions, like the jump scare in the bathroom that I will not show you kids because it felt on par with the bathroom scare in Eternal Darkness, so you should just go see it for yourselves because holy fuck. But these effects, combined with the lighting and the surprisingly restrained soundtrack from Vrenna and Walsh, not only emulate such incredible psychological horror experiences like Silent Hill and Fatal Frame, but I am willing to go on record and say that this game actually stands tall on its own beside those experiences. Remember the PDA and the audio logs? Holy God, listening to reports of haunted goings-on that happened in the weeks leading up to the demonic invasion, reading the emails, responding to audio logs. All of this is potentially skippable. And if you're playing the game for the third or fourth time, yeah, sure, absolutely. I doubt I'd read them all over again as well. But even the most innocuous of text messages within the game seems to hint at some fatal fate, some horrific circumstance. Long before we're asked to teleport ourselves across a map using the technology the UAC has devised, we are given brief snippets of Marines and scientists who have traveled through the portals and come back as snarling, drooling, unhinged versions of themselves. One log describes a large Marine who is tough as nails and looks like he could chew up rocks for breakfast, coming back from a teleport as a weak, broken human whose mind is shattered. And the author of the log expresses their concern for anyone else who decides to volunteer going through. So yeah, when we finally get to traverse the portals ourselves and we're violently shoved through a meat tunnel of screaming agony, the build-up and the descriptions and the horror we're only given hints of now makes sense. I don't want to give away every single trick that Doom 3 has up its sleeve. I genuinely think, as with most horror games, the experience that you have with it is going to depend on how much you know ahead of time. As far as gameplay is concerned, for 90% of the game, you're swapping between flashlight and weapon, hunting for resources, and searching for hidden enemies. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel, it's just putting different tires on. It is a Doom experience that leans into the horror and refuses to apologize for it. Okay, almost apologizes. If you play Doom 3 like a boomer shooter, yes, you will be disappointed by it. I made the mistake of trying to rush through certain parts of the game when I thought I had enough health, armor, and ammo to juice and jam like a madman, only to be slapped down by the game as a reminder that I am fighting fucking demons from hell that will kill me in only a few hits. Doom 3 asks you to pace yourself. The game certainly does. It's not afraid to slow down, offer pockets of quiet and exploration with minimal combat, giving you an opportunity to prepare and explore. And this is because, once more kids, Doom 3 is a horror game. And boy, oh boy, is it good at being a horror game. I'm so glad I played this, kids. I really fucking enjoyed being scared shitless in places and being tense as fuck for the rest of it. Unfortunately for the game and for id Software, Doom 3 can't just exist as a horror game. It's got that Doom legacy chained to its legs. The boomer shooter rip and tear manifesto clearly printed and nailed to the door like a blasphemous Martin Luther. So now we need to discuss how Doom 3 reworks what Doom has done before into something new and different. And depending on your mileage, it's either going to be intriguing or frustrating. We've already covered the basic gameplay mechanics that Doom 3 employs, features which will make it stand out from previous entries in the series and genuinely push both game design and technological features forward. So we already know that this is a different beast than the original entries in the series, but from a more controversial note are the weapon redesigns and the demon redesigns. Let's start with the demons first. Quite a few of the original demons from the series make appearances here. Imps, Pinkies, Lost Souls, Zombies, Revenants, the Mancubus, and the Archvile as well. And all of these OGs have undergone a bit of a facelift. Shit, look at the Imp. It's definitely more of a threat than it was in the first two Doom games, standing slightly taller, tanking a little bit more damage, dealing a little bit more damage, with a radically more how's the best way to put this? Insectoid appearance as opposed to the slightly off-humanoid look it's had in the past. There's a moment in the game later where the Marine discovers notes from UAC research that describe the Imp as having 10 eyes across its head, which is great for hunting purposes, and honestly, yes, this feels about right. The Imp is our template for the changes made to creature design as a whole. There's a much more alien, foreign, hostile look to these demons as opposed to prior incarnations. This doesn't by default make them any scarier or more imposing, but by creating a more unknown quantity to their physiology, it has definitely shaken up the formula, so we as players don't immediately know what to expect from these creatures. Hell, imps have a leaping and slashing attack and are the primary antagonists throughout most of the campaign. They should be imposing. They should be visceral and keep us on our toes. So when I say that this design is our template to understanding what id did with the creature roster, that's what I mean. They're telling us in a subtle, visual sense that we don't know these demons. We've ripped and torn other demons in the past, but these demons aren't the same cannon fodder we've dealt with. This is where some gamers took umbrage with the choices made with Doom 3. Now, I like a lot of these. I especially love the new look for the Lost Soul. I mean, holy shit. And it makes sense that the rest of the Lost Souls we see in the game have the same look, because these demons seem to utilize a template for their physical appearances. Now, to be fair and frank, some of the redesigns are fucking genius. Iconic even. The Pinky might have gotten the short end of the stick considering it no longer has the bull horns or even a similar vibe as the original. But we, as gamers, know this design. It's smooth, clean, effective. It gets the job done. He even has these little cyber hind legs, which are so cute and so neat. The Pinky redesign is effective. It works. Aside from the fact that Pinkies aren't nearly used enough in the game, I don't have any problems here. The Hell Knight is another exemplary redesign choice. It is so fucking effective. They put him on the box, for God's sake. It's so good. They carried this design over into Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. This Hell Knight has become the default Hell Knight for the Doom series moving forward. And as an enemy, Jesus Christ, they are scary. It could be argued that the Mancubus is a little scarier, but outside of boss fights, the Hell Knight is the most imposing and threatening enemy in Doom 3. It does not run, it does not crouch, it does not leap. It simply strides forward like a confident Goliath, pausing at times to conjure a ball of hell energy to throw at us, and then it continues to slowly stomp its way towards us. These fuckers tank so many bullets, so many rockets, so many pulse rifle shots that I was legitimately threatened whenever a single one of them would appear. 2 of them at once? Forget it, I already know I'm going to be quick loading a bunch of times. Also, shout out to the Mancubus. This is easily my favorite version of this demon. The Lovecraftian tentacles on its face give it a somewhat elephantine portrayal that really leaned into the alien aspects of other designs, and I think it's great. There's a couple of demons that haven't changed too much from their 1994 counterparts, and that's the Revenant and the Archvile. Hell, the Archvile is so recognizable that the first time I saw it in a doorway down the hall, it spread its arms to do the classic T-pose attack, and I immediately knew what I was fighting. There was no pomp, nor circumstances, just the realization that I was facing an Archvile, and the dread that that realization comes with. And like their Doom Eternal equivalent, Archviles in Doom 3 don't resurrect fallen demons, but instead summon new ones into the room, which is neat. It was really smart with that smooth introduction, just as they were with the intro for the Revenant. You walk into a room, you get a quick close-up on my favorite screamy boy, and you get to see right away that the biggest change to his look is translucent skin, which is wonderful. I love this look. It is so good. And then the Revenant rockets some of the support beams in the room, trapping you in with it, and you get to fight. One of the neat things about this game is that you can sometimes shoot the projectiles of the demons as they come your way, which is absolutely necessary here with the Revenant's shoulder rockets, because they hone in on you pretty well. If you're not trying to shoot them out of the air, dodging them can get pretty tricky, and next thing you know, you're taking way more damage than you ought to be. Okay, but while most of these designs are fair to good to great, there's one I just can't get behind. The fucking cacodemons. My boys, my sweet meatball boys. I just can't get behind this one. I get that it's going for a similar vibe as to the imp with the multiple eyes, so maybe it's supposed to be intimidating. I did talk about a template for the enemy designs, but this just bounces me out of the game whenever I see them. I know what a cacodemon looks like, and frankly, this Doom 3 monster is not a cacodemon. They're not fun to deal with, just like their namesake, but I prefer to think of this one as just something completely different in my head. Speaking of something completely different, we have a whole new host of demons created just for this game. They all adhere to the somewhat insectoid principles of the redesigns. We've got the maggots, 2-headed fodder demons, which really just, they don't do anything other than distract you from other threats. They're so weak, they'll die after taking barely any damage. There's the wraiths, which are neat ideas, demons that crawl forward with what look like bat wings, but they'll teleport around until they're close enough to attack you. I was always convinced that they were going to teleport behind me, but they never did. Trites and ticks appear a lot. Trites are the larger spider demons that crawl out of vents and ceilings to ambush you when you least expect it. Ticks are the smaller versions, which, in the heat of the moment, are pretty much indistinguishable, so I didn't really notice a difference between the two. Hell, I didn't even know that there were 2 different versions until I was researching for this script afterwards, so you know, whether or not you can tell the difference between the two doesn't actually matter. What matters is keeping track of what's in front of you and behind you, because if these little assholes are in front of you, chances are there's at least a couple behind you too, so stay frosty and keep moving back and forth between them. Much as they annoyed me, they were effective enemies, and I appreciated their inclusion here. Then there's the God! Huh! Fuck! I fucking hate these things. They're not even that annoying or difficult, I just hate their design. I hate everything about them. Little insect babies that screech and cry and make wailing infant sounds when you shoot them. I cannot believe how hard I jumped. I did not just jump. I screamed. I lost the entirety of my shit when these things first appeared. I was shook. They fucked me up so hard, and every single time they appeared afterward, but that first moment, I felt my soul leave my body in an absolute
Nope.
On the whole, these new demon designs are great. I really, really like what it was going for here. Despite the fact that most of the demons here look nothing like the source material, I think that they all look fantastic for what this game is going for. Except the cacodemon. Yeah, you got the shaft there, buddy. But Doom 3 isn't satisfied with just standard enemies. No, we even get some mini-bosses thrown in. First up is the Vagary, which is a Spider Queen demon that has a mancubus fetus forming on its thorax. Oh my god, that is metal. And it uses telekinetic abilities to toss items in the environment at you for massive damage. This fight sucks. It was so hard on veteran skill that I thought I might have hit a bit of a snag. The gimmick here is that you need to listen for the audio cue when it's about to use the telekinesis and then strafe out of the way. But you never know if the damage is coming from the side, behind, or in front of you. and you take so much damage from those attacks that it took me 2 or 3 attempts before I even realized what was going on. Also, real quick, I love the little cutscene after you beat the vagary where the squad of soldiers gets taken down and one of them accidentally shoots some piping, which leads to a real nasty explosion. There's so many references to ideas from Aliens. This one just happens to be my favorite. Later on, we get to fight a giant beast called a Guardian, whose gimmick is that it's blind and summons smaller demons called Seekers to find you in order for it to come and kill you itself. This is a pretty straightforward fight. You just have to kill the Seekers floating around. The Guardian will then open up its back to reveal a weak point while it summons more. You shoot that, rinse, repeat, all done. Our final mini-boss is labeled as Sabaoth in the game's wiki, which I think is a clever way to deflect from the fact that this boss is actually Sergeant Kelly, who has been demonized. Demonetized? Oh my god, he's been demonetized. And he carries a BFG to attack you with. Now, that is a problem in and of itself, because it is a demon with a BFG, and also because this version of the BFG has the same energy tendrils that the BFG 10K from Quake 2 has. So the moment he fires this thing, you're already taking so much damage that it is unfathomable. Of course, seeing as how I've already mentioned that you can shoot the enemy projectiles in this game and destroy them in the air, it should be noted that the same can be done to the BFG shot. So what you have to do is be ready to shoot the BFG energy ball, keep moving, and run down as much health as you can as fast as you can. It's an okay fight, but that BFG fucked me up so hard and so fast that I barely had any time to understand my surroundings when I first stepped in. But Sarge does give you a BFG afterwards, so, you know, I was fine with it. Also, once I finally got the hang of the fight, I reloaded my quick save right before a couple of times after, just to fucking gank the shit out of Sarge's revenge. Motherfucker. And this brings us to the big daddy, the final boss, the Cyber Demon. But in order to talk about the Cyber Demon, I have to talk about the weapons first. Left turn, kids! Alright, when we're talking about Doom 3's weapons, there is a massive elephant in the room. And I'm gonna get straight to the point right now and say Doom 3 shotgun good, actually. No ifs, no ands, no buts, no quantifiers. Doom 3 shotgun good, actually. If you walk into this horror game and expect it to be a boomer shooter, you're going to be disappointed. And I do understand that's probably why a lot of people were and are still disappointed by Doom 3. Now, if you understand that this is a horror game and not a boom shoot Doom, you'll probably be able to work with the shotgun just fine. This is a horror shooter shotgun. From a distance, the spread is so wide that it isn't going to do anything, which is incredibly unlike the OG shotgun, a shotgun so overpowered that it can body demons from like 3 blocks away. But here, the lack of range on the shotgun not only makes sense, it is fantastic. The Doom 3 shotgun is a case of risk versus reward. At melee distance, this thing absolutely fucks. You can one-shot imps, wraiths, trites, cherubs, even zombie soldiers at times, but you have to be up close and aiming for the head. A little further away from that, we're talking 2 shots, maybe 3 if your aim goes wide. One of my favorite aspects of Doom 3 is what I call the shotgun dance. Bobbing and weaving left and right as an imp charges up a fireball, waiting for the right moment to duck out of the way of incoming fire so they can run up and blast the imp point blank in the chest and nail that fucker. I love this shotgun. The only times the shotgun ever let me down was when I was trying to use it the wrong way. There's kind of a big pause between the shot and the pump action, so the weapon is best used as a finisher. I would use the machine gun, pepper demons a little bit with bullets, then swap to the shotgun and take them out with one shot. Easy peasy, super done. I honestly went into this game under the belief that I was going to hate this shotgun, as I've heard all the stories about how bad it is, how inaccurate it is, and yeah, sometimes it can be pretty inaccurate if you're using it wrong. This is a great weapon for up-close combat when fighting maybe 1 or 2 enemies max. If there's more than that surrounding you, you absolutely have to have something more rapid-fire out and ready to rock. Fortunately, the rest of the arsenal is just fine. I say just fine because all of the weapons here are really just that. They're suitable. They fit the Doom atmosphere. They're fine. Like, the pistol is a little wimpy, which it should be. It's a goddamn pistol in a Doom game, for Christ's sake. Although it's great for capping potential zombies in the head, which I did a lot, because, well...
It's the only way to be sure.
Answer has been a resounding yes.
The machine gun is more than serviceable. This is actually the weapon that took me the most getting used to. I didn't like the sound effect at first, it didn't feel punchy enough, and it constantly feels like you're not doing nearly enough damage with it. You're gonna find a shit ton of ammo for the machine gun, but if you rely on that exclusively, you're going to run out of that ammo, and real fast. The machine gun is a great setup weapon, or for crowd control on smaller enemies like the Trites and Lost Souls. However, it's the chain gun you're gonna want for big crowds. Oh, baby, this thing is beefy, punchy, and depending on the locker codes you track down, you can find it earlier than the game normally gives it to you. This, of course, means you won't find a lot of ammo for it at first. Later on, there will be zombie chain gunners who really suck, and they'll drop plenty of ammo belts for you to use, at which point you'll be pretty flush with chain gun ammo. Fuck, I forgot to talk about the chain gunners. Okay, so they suck, but even worse are the other zombie soldiers who have a tentacle arm that leap at you, and they are, God, I could never figure out the range on their attacks. It always felt like I was far enough away, but I wasn't far enough away. They eat up so much damage before they fall, and I hate them, and melee range in Doom 3 can be really difficult to gauge at times. Anyway, you get hand grenades too. The hand grenades are fine. I just wish they were bound to a key instead of a selectable weapon that you have to mouse wheel through. I hate it when games do that, but they're grenades. You know what they do. They are pretty useful for taking out zombies, though. I will give them that. The rocket launcher is good, although I never felt like I could get the projectile speed down, so using rockets on cacodemons was a no-go. Otherwise, it does what it says on the box and is a serviceable rocket launcher. The BFG shows up. Man, what a treat. Not the best BFG, nor is it the worst. It draws from its own ammo pool, and you can charge the shots, so you can try and conserve the ammo that you have, or you can unload it all in one devastating blast. I only used it in extreme circumstances, like handling 2 Hell Knights and a Revenant at the same time, because fuck. But it's the plasma gun that I really want to offer up here as the standout star, kids. Man, I do love the shotgun in this game, but the plasma gun, no fucking contest. Best weapon in the game. Now, I'm a fan of the machine gun's design. There's something about the clean aerodynamic bullpup style that speaks to me, but this plasma gun, from design to execution, might be my favorite in this series. And it must have resonated with people because, much like the Hell Knight design, this iteration carried over into Doom 2016. Sort of. It's not exactly a one-to-one transition, but it's damn close. Listen to this thing in action. Plasma gun's projectiles have a wide hitbox, so if you're defending yourself against Revenants, Cacodemons, even Hell Knights, those plasma shots are going to negate the enemy projectiles coming at you. You won't even miss a beat with the rapid fire speed either. You're going to keep blasting, your shots are going to hit your target, and they will protect you at the same time. Add in the factor that plasma ammo is some of the most prominent in the game, and you've got a solid, impressive weapon that you'll be wielding a lot as we get into the end game. There's a chainsaw too. That's how I feel about the chainsaw in this game. Seriously, you kids complain a hell of a lot about the shotgun being inaccurate, but I haven't heard one goddamn thing about this wet fart of a chainsaw. Moving on. So the reason that I had to step away from the Cyber Demon fight is because of the next weapon we need to talk about. This is Doom 3's big gimmick, the Soul Cube. The Soul Cube is an ancient Martian/hellish artifact that was once used by a great warrior to seal off the forces of hell. According to these tablets, I think we have a good idea of who that warrior was. But regardless, the Soul Cube is being protected by the Guardian of Hell. And if we want to stop what's going on, we need to get a hold of the cube to close off the invading hell forces. The cube appears to be a sentient being, or, beings, which explains to the Marine that it absorbs demon energy every single time he kills a demon. Kill 5 demons, and the Soul Cube becomes charged. Once charged, you can send the Soul Cube flying outward with spinning blades, and it will one-shot almost everything it comes in contact with. The great part about this is that the cube then returns whatever energy it just ate up back into your health reserves. So if you're running around at, say, 30 health, and you use the Soul Cube, after it makes a kill, it will top you all the way back up to a 100 HP, and everything is great. And it doesn't matter what you kill to charge the cube, by the way. 5 trites in a row, cube is ready. It also doesn't matter what you kill with the cube to get health back. 1 single trite, yep, the cube tops you all the way up back to 100, no matter what your health was sitting at before. It might sometimes feel like a waste to just unleash what is essentially a Hellraiser box on some fodder demons, but there's going to be enough kills surrounding you at any point that it'll charge up real fast. This thing is also great against huge enemies and mini-bosses. Hell Knights get one-shot, Archviles get one-shot. You can see here in my footage that the key for me to beat Sarge was walking in with a powered-up Soul Cube, which when combined with some other hefty firepower, took down that bastard real quick. Yeah, fuck you. So we fought our way through the complex, through the Martian ruins, and finally through Hell itself. The Marine steps out into a wide open arena where the Hellmouth is and looks up and is like, oh my fucking god. Because the Cyber Demon is towering overhead, literally bigger than everything else we've seen in the game to date. Now, we can't attack the Cyber Demon directly. The only thing that's going to affect it is the Soul Cube. So this fight, take it or leave it, has the player circling around the Hellmouth as more and more demons flood the arena. We have to keep killing them to charge the Soul Cube, and then use the cube on the Cyber Demon. Do this 4 times, and the Cyber Demon gets absolutely wrecked by the cube. This was so satisfying. I'll admit, one of my least favorite things about id Software games are the boss fights. For some goddamn reason, id doesn't really know how to get the climax right. And yet, here in this Doom, we get 3 fairly satisfying mini-boss fights and 1 super satisfying final boss fight. I'll admit, at first, I was frustrated by the Cyber Demon battle, mostly because its rockets will kill you in, what, 1 hit? Maybe 2? Plus, you're constantly under assault by incoming Archviles, Revenants, Cacodemons, Imps. You have to be judicial and utilize all of your heavy weaponry to whittle down these forces as fast as possible, all while staying out of the way of every incoming projectile headed your way. This fight, coupled with everything I'd fought through before, felt like a super sweaty culmination of the concepts Doom 3 had been building up to. And once I saw that fucker go down, torn apart by the Soul Cube, I had a big smile of relief on my face. The Hellmouth gets sealed, the forces of hell have been pushed back, and the terror is over. As the final cutscene starts to play, the Marine gets rescued by Earth forces that we had previously sent a distress signal to earlier in the game. Everyone else on the base is dead, including Counselor Swan and Jack Campbell, meaning we are the sole survivor of the invasion. The only person still missing is Dr. Betruger. Now, earlier in the campaign, we'd found out that Betruger wasn't only just working alongside the forces of hell, but he seemed to have some sort of control over them. He would taunt us telepathically, teleport demons into areas to try and kill us. We even got a cutscene of him creating one of the zombie soldiers that would end up giving us grief down the line. So in the final moments of the game, right before the credits roll, we get to discover Betruger's fate. He's been transformed into a giant winged demon, and he's now trapped in hell behind the Hellmouth, sealed away from our dimension, a casualty of his own play for power. Earlier in the video, I made the hot take that this is the best Doom experience that we gamers have gotten over the years, and after everything we've just discussed, I really do think that I stand by that statement. I love this game. From start to finish, Doom 3 presents a slow, hellish descent into a nightmare of decay and chaos, one that we have to scrape and claw and fight our way out of, even after falling directly into the jaws of hell itself. The blending of genres and inspirations, ranging from Event Horizon to Silent Hill to Aliens, comes together in a confident package that refuses to compromise for the player's benefit. Much to my chagrin. No doubt, while I really do enjoy this game, surprisingly so, I gotta admit there were a couple things that bothered me, and even a few that made me grit my teeth. I've brought up the veteran difficulty a couple of times now. Doom 3 has 4 difficulty settings: Recruit, Marine, Veteran, and Nightmare. Marine is default, so that's the intended experience, which implies that setting the game on Veteran really should just feel like kicking it up a little bit of a notch, right? Well, that's what I did. But at the same time, I remembered my experience playing Quake 4, which also has 4 difficulty settings running on id Tech 4, and I wondered if I was going to be in for the same hard time. Yeah, I was. One of my problems with the difficulty in Doom 3 is that Marine feels just a little too easy, and Veteran feels just a little too hard. Traditionally, Doom has 5 difficulty selections, and I go for selection number 4, Ultra Violence. I was hoping that Veteran would be the equivalent, but no, it's more like Nightmare Light. You take so much damage from enemies on Veteran skill. 2, maybe 3 hits, depending on armor and what was attacking me, and I was done for. Couple this with the questionable armor system, which only blocks 30% of incoming damage no matter how much armor you take, and things get a little dicey. I had a couple of times where I was wandering around at 25 HP and would trigger an attack from the shadows, only to get murked in one blow. The problem with that was there was only one path to go in those circumstances, meaning I had to trigger the monster closet, meaning I was going to get attacked for sure, and I barely managed to dance my way out of range after several attempts, during which I was worried I might have soft-locked myself due to my lack of health. While the soul cube is nice, there were a few times where it just felt like it didn't want to kill something, which was bad for me because the game reduces the amount of health pickups you get near the end game because it's assuming that you're using the soul cube a lot. But if the soul cube isn't cubing, then I'm just dying a lot. Between imps jump scaring me by leaping through opening doors, the zombie soldiers with their tentacle arms able to reach me a lot easier than they ought to, and getting sandwiched into somewhat unfair ambushes, Doom 3 is a bit punishing on Veteran. Meanwhile, it's a bit too much of a cakewalk on Marine. Your mileage will vary, of course, but the reason I try to play these games on a slightly higher difficulty is to see if all the systems work when I'm taking more punishment than the normal settings offer. Balancing here is just a little off. Most of my oh fuck moments were simply because something popped out at me and I was low on health, and I was scrambling to get out of the way. In a lot of ways, this does add to the tension that the game is already weaving around you as you play, but simultaneously, it's a bit more frustrating than I want it to be. And yes, even though I'm singing the praises of the Doom 3 shotgun, sometimes it is just a touch too inaccurate. I'm not sure what the aiming on some of these weapons is, but there were times where it felt like none of my guns were actually shooting where I was pointing them. This can be a bit tempestuous when you're unloading into something with a chain gun and eating ammo with each passing second, and what you're shooting at just isn't falling. I feel like the game plays with the concept of wanting you to burst fire to get closer to the demons than you really want to, in order for your aim to be more accurate. I had a devil of a time with the chainsaw. I just couldn't fucking figure out whether I was going to land a hit with that or not. And considering how much damage I was taking, I didn't want to fuck around and find out. No doubt on Marine, the chainsaw is a visceral release of tension and a lot of fun, but on Veteran, no fucking thank you. Still, all things considered, my shotgun worked more often than not. My weaponry held up its end of the bargain 90% of the time, and while the difficulty really needed to fucking back off just a little, overall, I came out of this game on the other side, sweating, bloodied and bruised, but triumphant. This is a damn fine game. A great Doom experience. The best Doom experience. And I'm going to go ahead and give Doom 3 an 8.5 out of 10. For a game that is nearly 20 years old, with tech that was pushing boundaries at launch and still impressive today, I can't get over how good this is. It nails the horror elements. It nails the atmosphere. It mostly nails the gunplay. And despite my qualms with a couple creature designs, it nails the threat and the vibe of the Doom demons. I find it fascinating that we're still having the conversation about the Doom 3 shotgun, because what's glaringly missing from this experience is the good old-fashioned, double-barreled super shotgun. Granted, Doom 3 is taking cues and inspirations from the first Doom, which did not have a super shotgun, but we've got enemies like the Revenant and the Archvile, so it's kind of odd that such an iconic weapon for the series is just simply absent from the game entirely. It's a damn shame that there's no way to know what the SSG would be like against imps and other nasties here in the id Tech 4 engine. Oh, what the fuck? Released on April 3rd, 2005, Resurrection of Evil is the only expansion pack for Doom 3. It was developed by Nerve Software, who also crafted the No Rest for the Living mod for Doom, as well as handling the modern Windows ports of Doom and Doom 2. I knew that going into this experience, and honestly, if anyone was going to take Doom 3 and do something interesting as a new story, it was going to be these guys. Resurrection of Evil is a very interesting gameplay experience. In a lot of ways, Resurrection of Evil feels like the direct-to-DVD sequel to Doom 3's tentpole summer horror flick. There's some goofy gimmickry going on, some suspicious design choices that only serve to highlight how gimmicky the gameplay is here, and yet there's a fascinating, intrinsic understanding of what made Doom 3 really, really good, amped up a couple of notches in the best of ways. You would think that such an imbalanced act would just end up kind of ham-fisted and not be very exciting, but you know what? This expansion is a lot of fun. The story takes place 2 years after the events in Mars City. And of course, the UAC has detected some kind of energy signal in the ruins beneath Mars, so of course they haven't learned their lesson, and of course they've sent in a new team to decipher what's going on. And as such, we're part of the squad making their way down to the ruins at the outset. We're guided by Dr. Elizabeth McNeil, who, what the fuck? That's not how boobs work. What the fuck? So as we descend into the ruins, which is surprisingly ominous and handled with terrific reverence, our new Marine protagonist is led to a mysterious artifact of hell, shaped like a heart. Once he picks it up, there's a wave of Argent energy. Oh, sorry, we're not calling it that yet. There's a wave of hell energy that incinerates the rest of our squad, and our lone Marine is now faced with finding a way back up to Mars City to reunite with McNeil and figure out what the hell this artifact is. It's really cool to have yet another Doom Marine added to the mythos here. This guy is a combat engineer, so in addition to being stuck with this weird and mysterious beating heart artifact, that's hard to say, heartifact. In addition to being bonded with the heartifact, our combat engineer also gets to wield a special tool called a grabber gun. A grabber gun. Yeah, when did Half-Life 2 come out compared to this game again? Okay. Now, supposedly the grabber gun was something id had planned to use in the base Doom 3 campaign, but it had been scrapped for time, so Nerve Software picked up the idea and ran with it here in Resurrection of Evil. It's a quaint little feature, probably the most gimmicky part of the game. Well, depending on how you feel about the Heartifact, but we'll get back to that. The grabber gun works exactly like the gravity gun, allowing you to pick up objects like red barrels and dead bodies and toss them aside, or grab ammo and health that you might not be able to reach otherwise. Its biggest strength, though, is that it can grab lost souls. Resurrection of Evil reintroduces the lost souls as forgotten ones, which are designed to look more like traditional lost souls. But it can grab forgotten ones and cherubs and trites and simply toss them away with one swipe, allowing you to save on ammo if you want. It's kinda clumsy, sure, but effective if that's the way you want to go with it. However, the real purpose for the grabber is as displayed in the cutscene, which introduces the grabber. You can snag enemy projectiles out of the air and immediately return to sender. While this potentially can add a unique twist to combat and at times be essential to saving ammo, it really feels awkward to use. And when you're dancing around just waiting for a demon to throw another fireball your way, that's when it kind of bounces you out of the experience and hits you just how ham-fisted this weapon is thrown in. Oh my god, there's even a boss fight which basically tells you you have to use the grabber gun to kill the boss, snagging energy projectiles from turrets situated on either side, and it just... yeah, it's not really fun. I'm sure there's ways to go to town with it. I thought it was mildly humorous that picking up barrels with the grabber would light them on fire, but if you dropped them in place, they would immediately extinguish? Like, what the fuck? But when you consider that the grabber gun has limited capacity for holding objects, meaning it will only hold them in the capture beam for a short amount of time, you're stuck with a tool that doesn't always latch on when you want it to, and doesn't always throw things where you want it to. Just kind of exists. Meanwhile, it's the Heartifact that's really the pull for gamers here. Resurrection of Evil gets right down to business with this one. After beating the first boss, the Heartifact begins to power up. At first, when you use the Heartifact, it will simply slow down time around you while you move at normal speed, allowing the combat engineer to bypass environmental traps with ease and also get out of crowded combat situations. Resurrection of Evil has ambushes that are so full of demons you wouldn't fucking believe it. Nerve Software clearly wanted the Heartifact to be the big star here, and so put in set pieces that basically demands that you use the Heartifact in order to get through them. There's a total of 3 mini-bosses, each with their own quirks needed to work around in order to conquer them, and when each one is killed, their power is absorbed by the Heartifact. After the first boss, the Heartifact provides the slow motion power, or hell time, as the game calls it. The second boss stacks on the Berserk ability in addition to the slow-mo, so all of your weapons basically go quad damage, or you can kill everything, and I do mean everything, with one fucking punch. I really loved using my flashlight to bonk demons on the head in this mode. It was so silly and I fucking loved it. And lastly, the third boss stacks invulnerability onto the Heartifact powers, so by the end game, when you use the Heartifact, you are basically One Punch Man whenever you use it. Of course, the Heartifact needs to be charged just like the Soul Cube, except here there's a bit of a twist. The Heartifact requires human souls to be used, which means that as you're running around, you'll find bodies of other Marines lying about, glowing red with soul energy, and you'll have to pull out the Heartifact in order to absorb it. The Heartifact can hold up to 3 charges at a time, and for most of the game, there's plenty of human souls lying around to recharge with, so, go to town. There's a goofy little quality to the way Resurrection of Evil proceeds with these events. The combat engineer is a lot more expressive than the Marine is. He almost seems to revel in everything going on, where the Marine was just stoic dude who was just having a really bad day. We've got a goofy grabber gun, we've got a super goofy but super fun demonic artifact that grants us superpowers. Also makes our hands do this. And Resurrection of Evil also goes super hard in with faster paced action and new enemies clearly made to test out the grabber gun and the Heartifact's abilities, making this kind of feel like an experience almost meant to, pick up the pace a little, where Doom 3 was far more measured. I mean, the base campaign took me 13 hours to get through, while Resurrection of Evil took me only 4.5. It's a palate cleanser, one that looks at the remaining little bits that Doom 3 just kind of didn't do anything with and goes, oh man, let's do some shit with this. The new enemies are fine, I guess. We get this xenomorph motherfucker called a Vulgar that we're clearly supposed to try and play fireball catch with. They're fine, but they're no imps, and I just kind of, they're fine. The new heavy demon is the Bruiser, and they can just fuck right off. Fuck right the fuck right off. They have rocket launchers or fireball launchers on each of their arms or something. I don't know. They hit hard and explode big, and they hurt me, and I don't like them. They're the ones with the weird horse snout thing that has a TV monitor attached to it that shows a row of human teeth and gums. That bit is just kind of silly. And they wobble really funny when killed in slow motion. But yeah, man, Bruisers hit way too fucking hard and take way too much fucking damage on veteran difficulty to be any fun to fight without using the Heartifact's slow-mo berserker mode. Honestly, I tried fighting them a couple times and was just so fucking frustrating. Truthfully, there are a number of combat encounters here in the game that are far too frustrating to engage with outside of Heartifact slow-mo. But at the same time, while the slow-mo berserk mode is cool and all, I didn't really want to be using it all the time. It felt kind of cheap and unearned, like I was taking too many shortcuts while getting through the game. Thankfully, there is something in this expansion that absolutely, positively, 100% makes this a must-play experience after Doom 3, and that is... oh, thank God. The super shotgun is exactly as potent and wonderful to use as you would expect. What was so sorely missing from the base campaign is gloriously welcomed here. Seriously, I love this version of the super shotgun, though it does come with a price. The SSG is really only good for handling 1 or 2 enemies at a time, and under no circumstances should you be using it against zombie Marines. Their rapid-fire weapons will chew through your armor and health like a cheese grater while you struggle to reload another pair of shells into the SSG. Sure, the double barrel packs so much punch that it can practically one-hit anything, short of a Hell Knight or a Bruiser, but like the standard shotgun, it does have some wicked spread to it. Couple this with a fairly long reload time, and the SSG becomes a tactical weapon for when you need to clear something out of your way in as few hits as possible. Up close and personal, and unless you're using Hell Time and Berserker as well, you definitely don't want to use this on crowds. Resurrection of Evil is a strange mixed bag of an experience. On one hand, you've got the addition of the Grabber and the Heartifact and the Super Shotgun, all of which are interesting, but only 2 of them are really useful, and all of them feel like inclusions simply for the sake of being included. Resurrection of Evil's gameplay consists of a series of funhouse horror sequences, gimmicky and goofy depending on what the game is asking you to do. But strangely enough, the tone of the terror as the game goes deeper is startlingly chilling. Where the base campaign tasks the Marine with going deeper into the chaos and horror of the Mars ruins, Resurrection of Evil has the combat engineer slowly rising up from the ruins and back into the terror of the UAC facility. Nerve Software put a lot of emphasis on chilling, creeping horror here, much to my absolute delight. As we close in near the endgame, Mars City appears to be flashing back and forth between what is our dimension and a different hellish version of Mars City. Under the influence of hell, there's a palpable sense of something pushing against the boundaries of reality, attempting to shove its way through the thin membrane between dimensions. After the escalating horror of Doom 3, this feels like such a natural culmination of events that I was astonished at how impactful it felt. Even hell, which was done really well in the base campaign, feels bigger, more threatening, full of howling evil and destructive forces yearning for our soul. My favorite part of the entire game, including the base campaign, is Resurrection of Evil's hell. Textured, distinct, oppressive, action-packed, including an arena battle that will absolutely test you even with a fully charged artifact. This might be the best depiction of hell in the entire series, even if Doom Eternal's hellscape is my personal favorite. We even get a really well done final boss fight against Dr. Betrüger, or as he's now known, the Demon Maledict. The fight moves in stages depending on how much damage you've done to him, and provides 2 bonus souls lying around to utilize for the artifact. This fight is tough. You'll have Forgotten Ones, and raining fireballs, and waves of flame as Maledict passes overhead. And while it was a struggle, it was a satisfying struggle. Right up until the ending. Yeah, so after doing enough damage to Maledict, the demon straight up dives down, grabs the combat engineer, and fucking body slams him. Then the engineer shoves the artifact into Maledict's throat, which causes it to disintegrate, and...
Return what is ours.
Marine? Marine, welcome home.
What the fuck? This ending just fucking threw me. Absolutely goddamn threw me. Okay, Maledict has been telling us this entire time that he wanted the artifact back. So we give it to him, but it somehow destroys him? And we're dead? Like this moment right here? Yeah, our boy's dead. He's fucking murked. So the fade to white implies that he's dying, of course, but then McNeil's voice comes through and says, welcome home, like, is she dead? And then the credits roll and like, it's such an anticlimactic ending to such a badass fight that I just couldn't believe that it actually happened. I had to reload my save and fight the boss again and see it all over again just to make sure that it wasn't some kind of joke ending, but nope, there it is. As I mentioned before, Resurrection of Evil feels like a direct-to-DVD horror sequel that takes a lot of ideas the original had and one-ups everything, but it has a lower budget and has to cut a few corners as a result. But still, it's a lot of fun, and it's worth the experience. And where Resurrection of Evil does a few things even better than the base campaign, it does make some questionable, gimmicky decisions that prevent it from being a truly great expansion to an already great experience. At the end of the day, both Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil are a lot of fun to be had. Doom 3 is the straightforward horror version of Doom that I didn't know I desperately wanted, and Resurrection of Evil is its Six Flags roller coaster counterpart. Now, I mentioned at the top of the video that I played all of this in vanilla mode. The BFG edition definitely makes some changes to all of this, like having the flashlight always available no matter what weapon you're holding, but the BFG edition of Resurrection of Evil also cuts some content. For example, there's apparently no Forgotten Ones that swarm you during the Maledict fight in the BFG edition, and there's also an entire sequence cut out wholesale. Yeah, you heard that right. There's a biosuit sequence in the expansion that tasks you with getting through a toxic arena, requiring you to kill biosuit zombies and take their envirosuit tanks in order to keep yourself from getting poisoned as you make your way through. Now, once I got the hang of it, I thought it was a clever, entertaining nod to the biosuits from the original games, and it was a fun diversion. I don't understand why this whole sequence has been cut from the BFG edition, but there you have it. Kids, I sincerely did not expect this game to be this damn good or for this video to be this long. I swear, I was going to make a decently sized Halloween video and walk away happy, but holy good goddamn. Even without going into the history of the game, even without comparing and contrasting the different versions of the game, there is so much to talk about with Doom 3. At some point, not only am I going to for sure make a history video on this game and really dive into the nitty-gritty details, but I'm gonna make a video chronicling and highlighting how Doom 3 actually fits into the established timeline and lore of the Doom series, and how I believe Doom 2016 is a sequel to Doom 3. You fucking heard me right. For now though, kids, thank you so much for joining me on this Halloween journey. I hope your spooks and spoops are exactly what you want, and that all your tricks become treats, and that you stay hydrated and stay safe out there, kids. If you enjoyed this video, please consider checking out my Patreon, as you can get early access to all of my content for just $1 a month. And also, sharing and subscribing, since that makes the algorithm happy. Oh, what's that? You want to know what I think is the best Doom game? Not just the best experience? I think that would cause a little too much controversy. We don't need to get into that. Well, alright. It's Halloween. I might as well indulge you. So, in my humble opinion, the best Doom game is